to imagine with me for a moment that you are returning home after several decades to a family who didn't even know that you were still alive. There's a story about a great tabi'i. His name is Farrukh Abi Abdurrahman. And Farrukh was a freed slave of Rabi' ibn Zayd, Rabi' ibn Ziyad, rahimahullah ta'ala, who was praised by Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu as one of the greatest commanders in the history of Islam. And when he passes away and he leaves behind Farrukh, this is a man that goes out and strives in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just as he was taught to do. This is a man who follows in the path of his mentors. This is a man who spends for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and has absolutely no connection to this dunya. And he marries a woman by the name of Suhaila. And as he's sitting in the masjid, and the call for the next battle comes to go out in another expedition in Khurasan, he comes home to his now pregnant wife, Suhaila. And he says to her, listen, here is 30,000 dinars. جمعتها من غنائم الحرب. I have collected it through the various missions of the spoils of war. فثمريها. So invest it. وأنفقي على نفسك وعلى ولدك. Spend on yourself and on the child that will be born to you. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, I'll come back to you when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees. He goes out, and I'm paraphrasing the story because it's a very long one and I don't want it to become the sole focus of the khutbah. But he goes out for almost 3 decades fi sabilillah. And he comes home 27 years later. And when he enters into the house, the young man that was his son, who did not recognize him, rises up to approach him. And subhanAllah, up until this moment, you can imagine the mental anguish and torture of the wife that was waiting for her husband to come home. And she would ask the expeditions, what happened? هل وقع أسيرا? Did he become a prisoner in the hands of the enemies? And that was a theory. هل مات في سبيل الله? Did he die in the path of Allah? And that was a theory, and that was the most likely one. What happened to my husband? And some people would say, I think I saw him there, I think I saw him there. But he enters into the house, and this young man approaches him to fight him because he thinks he's a stranger. And he says to him, Ya adu Allah, khuruj min manzili. O enemy of Allah, get out of my home. Don't you know that you're infringing upon the sanctity of a home? And he says to him, Ya adu Allah, O enemy of Allah, you get out of my house. This is my house. And as the commotion starts between the two men, said that Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, he comes in and he says to Farrukh, who's an old man at this point, he says, Ayyuha shaykh, laka sa'atun fi ghayri hadhihi ad-dar. You can find any other home. This is, go, it's okay, just go to another house. Why are you coming into this house like this? There are many homes for you to go to. Why do you have to come into this house in particular? And he says, هذه داري. This is my house. وأنا فروخ. I own this house. This is my house. And the young man says to him that I will not leave you until I take you to the sultan. Wallahi la faraqtuka illa inda sultan. I'm going to take you to the judge. I'm going to get you in trouble. Why are you coming into this house, and what is this claim? And as they're both fighting, the woman walks in and she solves the debate. And she says, that is my husband and that is my son. Meet your father, who you haven't seen for almost 3 decades. And subhanAllah, as this family reunion is happening, he says to her, you know, what has life been like, and what happened since I've been gone? And